Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the first episode of HUMBL Blocks Talk. These guys all just found out they're part of a series now. So, the whole point of this is, we've heard from you all that you want more media, more education, more content from HUMBL as a company, and it's going to be a really cool opportunity for us to do that now that we're rolling out Search3, which comes out, here pretty soon. And by the time you're watching this, it will likely be out or just about to come out on Tuesday of May 31st. So, we'll be putting out really kind of formulaic content where it's very structured, 2, 3, 4 minute tours of specific aspects of Search3 or HUMBL's product lines. But we wanted to also do kind of a behind the scenes vibe where some of the guys that are and gals that are working with us here on blockchain can talk about what they see both within our current product lines, but also into the future of what we're building here at HUMBL. I do note this is an all-male panel, but I want to, also express that we're going to swap it out at some point and do, a feature set with all the ladies that are working here too. Cynthia Navarro is an amazing UX UI product designer. Carrie Lynn on, customer relations and customer service. Jenny and Nicole on the marketplace side of things. So Karen and Michelle, who are co-founders, who are helping out with everything ranging from partnerships to ad sales. So please keep in mind, I know, we'll get some troll comments that it's all guys for the first Blocks Talk, but that will change in the next one. So welcome here to everybody. We'll do kind of like a 30-minute or 1 hour type of thing. I don't know how it's going to shake out yet. We try to rapidly experiment with stuff here at HUMBL. So we'll get your feedback, see how it goes, and we'll start, episode 1 of Blocks Talk here. So welcome to it. I think we'll start off by just saying, there's a little bit of a reminisce vibe for me as we launch Search3. There's guys up here on the stage that are getting into it now with the Alfonsos, who I love working with, all day basically. But there's folks here, that I've been with from the beginning, like Jeff and Adam. So it's really fun for us to be launching Search3 in the sense that you now have this sort of magnet for these product lines that, I think at some point looked like it was a bunch of different projects laying around the garage. And Adam's just been an incredible, friend and business partner in the sense that I can call him up, and have for years, and it could be a weekend or he's out with his family or I'm, on travel somewhere around the world, and I'll call him, I'll be like, dude, let's figure this product out for origin assurance, farm to table, factory to floor, let's track it on blockchain. And Adam's just been wonderful about being like, well, I have my kids out at the skate park right now, but I can get back to my computer in a half an hour at 9 p.m. on Saturday night, and we can work on this thing. So what's really been cool to see, and hopefully we can pop up graphic on it, Search3 gives us this sort of magnet of where you have a front door to Web3, but then you have these HUMBL product lines that sit around that, whether it's the HUMBL web wallet or the HUMBL marketplace, verifiable credentials, all these things that are going to be really important toolkits to take on your journey through Web3. So I wanted to thank my fellow friend here who's been just amazing at building out the component parts of that we're now stitching together into one placemat, which is Search3, Mail3, and then the product line around that people will need once they enter Web3 to really have the tools they need to get through that process. So Adam, thanks again, man, for taking my random ass phone calls and working on all the things. And
I love every second of it, and Brian's got great ideas and great vision, and it's just been fun trying to make those become a reality and create products on blockchain. So that's my passion, and
awesome.
Happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, no, I know you have such a great presence when you get up there at these different blockchain, conventions and things like that. What are you seeing in the space right now as we move from sort of, the genesis of blockchain, moving in now to thinking through Web3 and some of the, current conditions in the market, and where do you kind of see blockchain right now in terms of its life cycle?
I think it's maturing, right? And I think there's a lot of issues with meme coins and that kind of stuff falling away, and people are looking for what real solid value does blockchain bring to the world. And I think those types of products are going to rise to the surface, and that has to do with on-chain data, transfer of value, right? Blocks as a unit of measure for blockchain, and how does that fit into other products and services. And I think HUMBL is really seeing that through and making that easy for customers to implement, and it sort of makes blockchain real and easy for customers to understand and use in their everyday life. So.
Said it better than I ever could. One of the personal edicts I've given myself is to, when I'm doing, media, is I'm really going to start banging on separating out virtual currencies like Bitcoin, hybrid token like blocks for the blockchain economy, the tokenized economy, central bank digital currencies, and trusted stable coins like USDC or something like that. We saw recently, these algorithm-backed stable coins with some promise of high yield get totally blown up and things like that. So I think, to your point, evolution comes through really painful lessons, in addition to folks who are executing on things the right way as well. So it's an interesting thing to watch, and I appreciate being on the journey with you guys. Forrest, you're a little bit new to blockchain. You've been with us now for over a year, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, for sure. So you didn't come into HUMBL with necessarily a lot of view on blockchain, right? I mean, you were more traditional in your approach. A lot of cybersecurity background stuff. What's it been like for you to kind of get into blockchain here at HUMBL? What are your
It's been very cool. Watching all the different products and projects lying on the garage floor. Getting to see where that's going and seeing how it will actually impact not only the market where people are very aware of what's going on with the blockchain, but especially opening up that product line to those who aren't as well versed in the sector. So.
Perfect. That's awesome. Junior, when I met you, blazered up, government contracts, all these things, and now I see how deep you are in Web3, NFT community, Bored Apes, constantly sending me amazing ideas about where we can take the product lines. So that's been a really cool surprise, right? After we got married here with BizSecure and HUMBL, it's been really fun for me to see you and how deep you are in Web3, and you're obviously zooming out on that to give blockchain as a service to government pilot tests, armed services pilot tests, but you're also pretty darn deep in Web3 itself as well. So that's kind of cool to see. How are you seeing things shaping up, both for yourself here at HUMBL, but then kind of how Web3 is showing itself as being valid for both public sector and private sector?
Absolutely. I mean, thank you for having me at HUMBL and for the whole merger with BizSecure. I mean, I think truly merging industry and government is going to be huge here, especially with blockchain technologies and blockchain as a service. So really excited to really spearhead that alongside you. As far as for Web3, I really see using blockchain as a way to get equality out there. A great use case is someone that wants to start a business and doesn't really have a method to get to the county's office to file for a fictitious business name, or just doesn't have the time, or let's say in the DMV, you want to go renew your driver's license, you got to take the picture, or you got to fill out the application. Typically that's a whole day long process, right? Imagine in Web3 where you can do that from the comfort of your home, verifying your identity, all on the blockchain. So I really think blockchain, Web3 is going to bring more equality to the United States and to the world as a whole, especially within government. So
awesome.
Really excited to work on that with you.
Yeah, likewise, man. And I think that equity story is really important. Open access to government and services through technology, and a more frictionless experience. I've been so excited to see you playing around with some of the tools you intend to bring to Search3, where a customer or a constituent can maybe get more direct services to government. One of the biggest aha moments I've had with HUMBL Blockchain Services and getting into the government sector with blockchain is people are still going down to offices to file forms, and wait in line for stuff. And even if it's online, maybe it's through a really cumbersome website or in different silos across a county or a city or a nation. So I think that is a super interesting story that you're building out with the sort of government self-help desk off of Search3. It's super cool. But I do want to come back to you on other aspects of Web3 as well, because that was my biggest aha moment with you, is just, you're a very good product person as well in terms of thinking through Web3 and all of that. In the same way, Jeff, we have a guy who's, a source of controversy here at HUMBL with his his clothing and his hair and all the things that people like to comment on about his physical appearance, upon which he works so hard. So Jeff, when we step into the metaverse, right, you think about Search3 and we're building out that metaverse tab and taking our tokenized avatar and clicking in on the metaverse to go shopping or get some virtual tailoring. Talk a little bit about how you think tokenization is going to help people authenticate themselves, not only for quick government services, but just everyday life, shopping malls, stadiums. Blockchain tokenization is something that's an embodiment of the person online.
Yeah, so when we think about blockchain tokenization, you're really thinking about taking some sort of physical asset and then making a digital representation of it. So it's funny, I've been with Brian, working with him since 2018 now. When we first started, the main things that we were focused on were blockchain tokenization and the block ETX products and everything. And to see how everything has evolved, not only with us and in this space.
Since 2018 to mid 22 is like 20 years in blockchain. So.
Yeah.
Especially when you're spending 20 hours a day together working on stuff.
And I was going to say,
it's been great.
It's kind of like we're at 1998 or 1999 in terms of the internet.com era, where we're just kind of coming to the surface now. And I really think that there's going to be a huge consolidation phase with blockchain, where we're going to see some of the meme coins and some of the projects that aren't as up to par are going to kind of dwindle down, and some of the top projects such as Search3 are really going to take shape. So it's a really exciting time to be in the space.
I agree, bro. It's been so fun to do it with you. I think what we're trying to do at Humble is have this consumer product layer that's on top of these really novel decentralized rails. And one of the things you think about, I think it was Ernst & Young or someone put out a note this week saying, hey, how many of these decentralized rail systems are we really going to have? Meaning he was hinting at, a winner-takes-all type of environment, or, something where this intense consolidation around a couple of different chains. He notes Ethereum, of course, and some of the hybrid token projects that come off of Ethereum could be considered within that realm. So that is interesting. And I will say that, one of the biggest surprises of the BizSecure opportunity here at Humble, in terms of building the consumer product lines, I always thought when we did our asset acquisition with BizSecure, I thought, well, we'll go in after government contracts, armed services contracts, blockchain as a service for the private sector, and we'll sort of really disaggregate the consumer wing of Humble, the consumer products wing, with HBS, the services wing. And one of the biggest accelerants for us has been the addition of the time and counsel and inputs we're getting from Alfonso Sr. Total bonus to the deal and ends up just being an absolute stallion for the company. He's just been such an engine room for our technology team, our business team, our strategy thinking. So I want to thank you for that, because it allowed us to start to contemplate Search3 and Mail3 as being the search engine and the mail client for Web3. It's allowed us to accelerate that view by orders of magnitude. So thank you for bringing that to the table. You sit so well across consumer and commercial, but now also the search and the mail pieces. Walk folks, if you would, through sort of some of the things we're working on for Search3, but then also the mail client that will go with that, and some of the privacy and security pieces of an inclusive web.
Awesome, thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Alfonso.
It's been a lot of fun working with you.
You too.
It's fun. We push each other very well.
Hard.
It's been a lot of fun. So working with the team, very talented people, has been awesome. But going back to what we're trying to do with Search3 and encompassing all the technologies together, recently we sat in meetings with large corporations and government, and some of the biggest concerns are privacy, inclusion of consumers, and consumer protection, right? So part of the reason for Web3 is to serve all those niches. And when you stitch things together, people wonder, well, why mail, right? Mail's so well taken care of right now, why do we need a mail product? And if you look at things as simple as two-factor authentication, people use their email address to sign into things, and generally have the same password shared across everything. So now the whole concept of two-factor authentication goes out the window, because you have your usernames the same across both platforms, same password, so they just log into your email and it's done. So with Web3 now, you do away with username and password. So you go to authenticating with a wallet or with a verifiable credential. And it actually becomes a lot more inclusive and a lot more secure. So privacy preserving measures, users now want to be incentivized for their data. They want to be in control of their identity. And that's really what makes this very cool. While there's free mail clients out there that everyone uses every single day, that they're scanning through your mail, so all of a sudden on your calendar it appears, hey, you're going out of town tomorrow. Wait, who did I tell? Oh, you have a meeting tomorrow with Jeff? And it just automatically appears because it read through my email, right? And as a nation or as humans, we want our privacy, right? Because we see where technology is infringing on every aspect of our lives. Mm-hmm. I know for me, I get home, hey Alexa, turn this on. Hey Alexa, set the temperature. And we're so used to that, but we don't realize all the privacy we give up. And working with you guys, we're realizing, hey, let's find a way to tighten that niche up and stitch it all together. It's such a complex issue, though. It's not an overnight thing.
Of course.
So, with Search3, the first phase of Search3, because it'll be growing every single day, we bring things together to, one, make things as convenient as possible, look at consumer protection with Verified by Blocks, which is very important. So now you can authenticate all kinds of things. Sending an email, right? A lot of people do phishing schemes, and you look at it and it's not really an easy way to verify who it came from. You could go through all the mail headers. It's very complex. But if people are digitally signing those emails with their wallet through a mail system, then, phishing schemes and fake email addresses could become a thing of the past. So the overall goal is to make life much simpler. So
awesome. Yeah, I think what you'll see from us with Search3 is a simple front door to Web3, right? Elon Musk joked, he said, where's Web3? I can't find it. And that's a very fair, good note. So what we're doing with Search3 is giving people a simple front door to enter Web3. But then once you're in Web3, another market problem right now is that all the tools to navigate and use Web3 are very disaggregated. And that's, by default, that's the state of the decentralized web. And so what we're trying to do is preserve decentralization and customer autonomy while still giving people a simple brand where they go, okay, I used HUMBL because it was simple Web3 tools without eroding the privacy pieces or the autonomy that Web3 promises to you with that tool set. So it's a really cool, thorny problem, and I think we're thoughtfully addressing it here at the company through everybody here sitting in front of us. Switching gears a little bit, you heard Senior say, hey Alexa, I'd like to introduce you to our future voice product, Blue. Kind of a wild ride with the Alfonsos. We were down in Latin America performing some partnership meetings, and we decided that we wanted to try to buy this guy. So it was quite a wild ride, calling home to Jeff and working with the Alfonsos to get a hold of the owner of Blue. We knew we wanted to get Blue as a future voice product, Blue as a mascot for the company, as a tour guide for Search3, a chief experience officer for Search3. So there's only, I think, 5% or less of the apes that have blue fur. Certainly he's got the humble hat on, so, and the San Diego flannel. So there's just a lot of attributes to Blue that were ones we wanted, but we're going, we're in the lobby of the hotel between meetings. How are we going to get a hold of the owner of this ape? How are we going to, negotiate with him or her and so on? So really fun process. And, Junior, if you can kind of go through with folks how we're going to kind of, get this guy into a voice product. You met some of the guys at the NFT conference in LA that are doing Bored Ape voices. So would like to hear both, not physically but technologically how some of the voice product will come into the mix.
Something you can think of when you think of a voice product is imagine a decentralized peer-to-peer voice system that doesn't track everything you say, isn't stored in a database, right? And that's some of the concerns we have with today's voice-controlled devices is they're storing all your information, they're storing the tones of your voice, they're really storing all that data, which, as Senior was saying, we as humans really want our privacy We want to have control over that. So imagine a future with Blue saying, hey Blue, what's the weather today? In a decentralized manner that doesn't store that information. So happy to be working on that, and I think it's going to be just such a great product. And having Blue in your pocket to be able to do that, I think is going to be key in the future.
Hey Blue, love it. So Adam, customer comes home. Hey Blue, I'd like to order X, Y, and Z. We talked about wine fraud. We talked about forgery in the sports memorabilia markets. A big gap with blockchain or market challenge for us has been, how do I remedy the final mile between full online authentication and then the physical goods, right? That final mile, that last gap of marrying physical and virtual realities or tokenized authentication. Talk a little bit about the Origin Assurance product that we're working on, ranging from everything to, I bought an NFT, but it comes with an authenticated jersey, or I bought a bottle of wine and I was able to scan and authenticate from factory to floor, farm to table. That's what I got.
Yeah, I'd say in the simplest terms, like a product like Origin Assurance is taking a physical good or object and marrying it to a digital identity on the blockchain, and that could be married to an NFT or a token. And essentially what we want to try to do is verify the origin of this physical product by tracing it back on chain. Maybe there's a chain of custody, chain of ownership, and we can look at data on chain and kind of go back to where that item came from and follow it through its history of transfers and verify that it is in fact the item that we purchased that is valid, right? And it could be anything. It could be collectibles, memorabilia, it could be lettuce from farm to table. And all those things can be married to a digital identity and then tracked online. And I think what's really important to note is that HUMBL is sort of a centralized company, and part of that's required for effective blockchain tracking in a sense, because we need to verify the identity of corporations or individuals who want to verify their goods. So we can verify that, let's say Gucci, for example, is Gucci when they verify their handbags. And so we need to verify that business. And there's a centralized piece there, but then it can be decentralized after that once we verify who that partner is. So I think there's a great marriage between centralized and decentralized businesses, with HUMBL working with a DAO. And I think that's the future of how business is going to work, and HUMBL is definitely on the bleeding edge of all that. So
yeah, and I love sitting there with you guys. We talk about Web 2.5 in the sense that we're a centralized public company at HUMBL, and then you have these hardcore Web 3, self-automated DAO projects like Blocks out of Wyoming. So we're really trying to do this Web 2.5 thing where you take some of the good features of a centralized public company and then some of the really cool features of Web3 autonomous blockchain projects like Blocks or Ethereum or Polygon or Gnosis or Solana, and marry those things in the middle so that it's a better state for the customer or the government, or the private sector partners. So really cool things to think about there. Continuing though with what you're saying, Adam, we've also talked a little bit about QR codes and their role in technology. So Junior, if you could talk a little bit about some of your thinking around building on what Adam was saying, dynamic QR codes, Blue's fur moving around, or a dynamic QR code on a bottle of champagne, thinking through how we make sure that QR codes themselves are not a vector for attack or replication.
Absolutely. With today's day and age, trying to replicate QR codes, we think it's going to be a big issue where when we try and marry the digital identity of something on the blockchain to a physical asset, people will definitely try to replicate that in any way. A really cool new feature that Senior came up with is verification using NFC, so two-factor authentication against the QR code. So if it's tampered with, if someone tries to rip off that QR code, it actually breaks the antenna and you're no longer able to authenticate that QR code. Taking that little step further, I really think dynamic QR codes are going to be in the future. So you see a lot of high-end champagnes, watches with warranty cards that have this digital screen on there and sometimes a battery on the bottle with a light-up label. I really think in the future we're going to see, or we can see, Blue as a dynamic QR code where we actually embed the QR code inside of his fur. And whenever you need to verify or authenticate that QR code, you actually press the button which will light up blue, and the fur will be waving in the way of a dynamic QR code. And I really think that's the future where we're going to eliminate fraud from marrying the digital assets against the physical assets.
Cool. Yeah. So just to kind of zoom in a little bit on that, it's everything from sports memorabilia, right?
Absolutely.
Wine, watches, manufacturing. There's a lot of supply chain and logistics and shipping implications there. Big challenge of Web3 is to take all these exciting things that you can authenticate on the blockchain and marry those to the distribution of physical goods and collector's items. And so we'll be working on that with both of the solutions that Junior mentioned, the dynamic QR code, and then some other things that Alfonso's working on within physical items. So you want to kind of build on that?
Yeah, I mean, right now there's a lot of concerns when you talk about from cradle to grave or from
Factory to floor, farm to table.
Perfect. And the concern is, well, what if the employee just shoots a picture of the QR code and acts like he's at a physical location, right? Well, with dynamic QR codes now, if you have a small display on a post, that goes away. So there's a lot of purposes for this that not only has to do with verifying an asset, but verifying that a person's at a particular location, they're actually doing their task, or that a coffee came from a particular place. So when Adam talks about supply chain and things of that nature, this really becomes important. We look at when you transport an item, there's bill of ladings and there's chain of custodies. So with chain of custodies, now if you have dynamic QR codes or you're able to authenticate and sign with your wallet via QR code, it completely makes everything so much easier to verify. So it takes it to the next level.
Give them a real world example of that, Senior.
A real world example of that is when people are trying to import items across the border, right? And when it passes through customs, there's a seal put on there, part of the chain of custody process. And with this new type of technology and using blockchain, we're able to ensure that something's not tampered with. With a QR code verified by an NFC antenna or with some type of two-factor authentication apparatus behind the sticker. Now, if it's tampered with or removed, it's broken, and then the chain is broken. So, it's very helpful that we can have all this data on chain. You as a consumer can go in and query it. So now you also know or have visibility into everything. So it mitigates the amount of fraud and ultimately leads to more consumer protection.
Yeah, so think of that like you buy an NFL players or Major League Baseball players NFT, and with that you get an unlock of an authenticated jersey, a football or a signed baseball, maybe a pair of cleats that he or she has worn, and then getting that all delivered with a VIP ticket experience, something like that. So we contemplate origin assurance as something that will have applications and everything ranging from coffee bean manufacturing, cross-border commerce, to the fun stuff like NFTs, ticketing, merchandise for fans, athletics, things like that. So it'll be really fun to kind of work through these different things and see where we can be of service the most with this very highly applicable set of technologies that the guys are working on.
And I really think with that, the NFT follows the end product. So let's say in the sports world and with the football, that you have a signed football from a football player. When that football gets sold off or traded to another person, that NFT actually follows that football, acting as its warranty card and authenticating it. So I really think adding utility to that NFT and to future NFTs is going to be huge in this realm.
I agree, man. And one of the things that I do, that I push on the hardest, is getting our NFT business to get tethered quickly to merchandise, to ticketing, to physical goods or virtual experiences. And I think as we step into marrying these things, online and offline, but then also into the metaverse, it'll have a lot of implications. So we'll talk in future blocks talks about tokenization in the metaverse and authentication of self and authentication of commerce, and making sure that when you do peer-to-peer trade that's totally decentralized, you're authenticating or verifying on something like blocks that's exactly what you traded for. So that'll be a fun talk in future sessions that we can get into. The thing I wanted to stick on, though, as we start to think about buying something online and receiving it at your doorstep offline, is delivery. And Senior is just an incredible thinker around rapid delivery, both on B2B side, but then also a consumer side. So thinking through how someone can search for a nearby merchant and get delivery of goods that are sourced at the best price and at the best speed to your doorstep. So Senior, can you talk a little bit about how you'll be accelerating HUMBL delivery to find the best delivery person at the best price for both B2B, Rails, and then also the consumer?
Yeah, absolutely. So, when we look at Web3, another aspect that comes in and really ties together with blockchain is AI, artificial intelligence. And another word that's used a lot is AML, which sometimes gets confused with anti-money laundering, but it's automated machine learning. And we see that as practices go on, or if people order something, you can now have AI or automated machine learning evaluate a bunch of criterias, like what is it you're transporting? So is there a certain time frame it has to get there? Not only price, but all these different criterias, and then it can help make decisions on its own based on those criterias, right? You can also evaluate, the last few times we used this company, their deliveries were always late, the product was bad, so that goes mitigating them, or changing what vendors you use for each particular process, which I think becomes very helpful.
So it's not only routing, but then determining the efficiencies of how you route for that.
Correct.
Cool. Well, that sounds great. And do you have anything in mind about the dimension between B2B delivery or supply chain systems versus the consumer? Where are you seeing the gaps and opportunities between those two things? You're talking about, you work with, on some other businesses that you work with things like pharmacies, supply chain. Where are you seeing the delivery business now as we enter kind of this new phase?
Yeah, we see a lot of changes in delivery when you look at people are looking for things to be a lot more convenient. So now you see robots actually going out on the street doing deliveries. And you go, okay, cool. How does the robot know who it's delivering to? And with something like a verifiable credential or with NFC or a QR code, you're able to authenticate to that robot that you are who you say you are. In the B2B world, a lot of times, let's look at the restaurant industry. You as B2B, restaurant goes to order a product that's not in stock, AI can come in and say, hey, a similar product is available, would you like me to swap it out? Or with consumers, Jeff, you do a lot of orders of food delivery.
Yes, I do.
If you go to order poke and they run out of brown rice, imagine if the machine can come up and say, hey, Jeff, I know that you're really worried about health, so there's no brown rice, but there's quinoa. Do you want me to substitute it for quinoa? But it knows that white rice might not be the best option because it kind of learned, you taught it your dietary pattern. So I see a lot of that coming into play. And another thing is, we will see a lot of sidechain usage or hybrid blockchain usage. Mm-hmm. And what this will help with is when, through the whole process, you're able to efficiently write records out to the blockchain to be authenticated and in a cost-effective manner, which I think is really important.
That makes sense, Senior. I think, you and I talk a lot about using partners like Blocks, for example, hybrid token project. How do we sit across main chain, side chain, and off chain with something like a Blocks Zero or something like that? Or we recently integrated Polygon as a side chain into our NFT platform. Can you talk a little bit about how blockchain can sit across multiple dimensions? So for maybe newer viewers that are just going, I thought blockchain was sort of one thing. Oh man, now we're bifurcating it out to main chain, side chain, off chain, simulated computations. Can you talk a little bit about how you're efficiently routing things across the blockchain to give a customer the best experience without them even maybe knowing that you did that?
Yeah, so when we look at hybrid solutions, there's certain blocks of data that you want visible to the world. There's certain blocks of data that need to be proprietary. And there's certain transactions that are such high speed that you might need to, as a middle layer, write to a database, and then it queries off onto a side chain or a main chain. But at the same time, as we're really worried about our environment, so we care about the carbon footprint. So side chain and these hybrid environments become very important to us as humans and to industry, right? So I know Adam and I have worked very closely on ways to mirror these records so that you do still have an immutable record, while at the same time, lowering cost and carbon footprint. Adam, if you want to talk about how we can start here and then wrap our way to wherever we need based on the use cases.
Yeah, I would just say that, depending on the idea of the Blocks token itself is that we can deploy wherever a partner is or wherever the future takes us as far as like carbon emissions, like a highly efficient chain. And like Alfonso said, is that some data might need high throughput. So we can write that internally on a database and then wrap that and send it out to a chain if we need to for verification. So not all data makes sense to put on chain. We put it on chain when it makes sense and appropriate for the use case. So we're building a system that's incredibly flexible, and I think hybrid is the future, and I think everyone will see that ultimately makes sense. We have crypto maxis or Bitcoin maxis, but we're so limited with some of those chains with what we're trying to accomplish that we just need the whole blockchain world to be opened up and basically abstract all the complicated stuff away for the end users. They don't even necessarily care or know how it's getting on chain. They can just verify it and know that it's a trustless, immutable record on chain, and they're fetching it from Humble's user interface, which is incredibly user friendly. So that's ultimately what matters, I think.
Yeah,
So,
that's one of the things we initially called you about is it's, hey man, when you use minutes on cell phones or megabytes of data, ultimately we want the customer to use these tokenized blocks of blockchain that, reflect a well-routed, well-computed customer experience that maybe they didn't even know was going to be on blockchain. And so, a big vision of mine or dream of mine is that the customer is using blockchain without even knowing it. And so it's fun for us to now be contemplating the use of main chain, side chain, off chain, to give people a more efficient experience where you are routing that call and the customer is like, well, thank you for doing that. I'll pay my cell minutes or I'll pay my megabytes bill. So that's kind of fun to see that evolution coming forward. And I think that's going to be even more important as we enter the true tokenized economy. And as we talk out loud, it just occurs to me how much the tokenized economy is going to be both a consumer thing and then a commercial thing, right? So it's really fun to see the press starting to go, well, wait, there's Bitcoin and there's Bitcoin Maximalist, but then there's this Web3 tokenized economy that's going to be authenticating all manner of commerce, either between us as people or between us and governments or us and corporations, etc. So really fun to be seeing that. From a cybersecurity perspective, Forrest, you think through consumer safety, consumer security. If you give people a decentralized web, how do they use it effectively and so on? What are some of the challenges that you see day to day or improvements as we migrate from a pretty centralized tenancy on Web 2 with big tech to some of the more decentralized features of Web 3?
So when we look at moving into that decentralized zone, putting everything on blockchain and having it verifiable by everybody, we can look at verifiable credentials. And having things on the blockchain, meaning everybody can see exactly who someone is at any given time. Having someone authenticate with their wallet will help us get rid of username password-based authentication systems. And username password hacks would be a thing of the past.
Cool.
We could also eliminate things like SSO and other ways of authentication by just authenticating with the wallet.
Nice. So, Junior, we see .eth all over the place now on Twitter. Tell everybody about why is everybody saying .eth? Can you give folks some clarity on that?
It was actually really crazy out there where we saw for a while people were like, hey, I want to buy all the 3-letter .eth addresses out there, and no one really knew why, but they were spending 10 ETH on these 3-letter .eth addresses, and really it's the new way to get to your wallet. So imagine bringing DNS, domain name service, into the blockchain. So instead of having to type 0x2345, your whole wallet address, you now use your .eth address to be able to connect to that wallet, be able to transfer, be able to trade. And we really think seeing that in Search3 in a decentralized manner, imagine being able to go to your .eth address and host a .eth website in a decentralized manner and search it on Search3. So I really think .eth addresses are really going to be the replacement for wallet addresses.
Yeah, cool. So hopefully what you are tracking is like you're getting this super fragmented, highly decentralized web that's then all these different blocks or modules that can be really cool areas of commerce, sending someone an email, authenticating a transaction, shipping and verifying a good or performing a service from government. So that's our big challenge, I think, is, if you look at Web 2, it was highly centralized in the fact that you had all these front doors for, Google search or Amazon, click and buy an item, Netflix, click and consume content. So if you look at the FANG stocks, they really sit on top of the read and write web. and now you're doing the read, write, transact, and verify web, which is just a really cool challenge of all this, these disparate functions that can be brought together under tokenization and wallet products. So I think our charge largely is to help people find Web3 and then give them really simple products to start to use it that aren't just confusing as hell, because these things come out and they're scattershot, right? Like when you look at tech cycles, it's everybody's taught to just build in these really tight, very singular silos of applications. So you have all these decentralized applications that get thrown out into the universe, and so some of what we're doing is bringing that back. I think Apple gives us a really nice guide of how they took, their stores, for example, and put this explosion of applications into a store environment. So one of the things we see now is decentralized applications, and Adam or Senior, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Senior, you've been talking about this for a while. What are your thoughts on sort of apps and building on these sorts of things? So giving people, some rail systems, but then allowing them to quickly build on top of something that doesn't get lost in the ether, but rather is then tucked into a broader system.
Yeah, I'd love to have a part of Search3, like dapps.search3.com, where Adam can come up with framework where everyone can come in, and we have an open source area there for people to build new decentralized apps, right? We mentioned earlier.
So like a HUMBL store where folks could build apps on blockchain and load them up onto Search3.
Absolutely. But with some, people are really worried. Blockchain, oh God, it's so complicated, it's hard, right? But, Adam has built these different libraries where people can use JavaScript to be able to interact on the blockchain, to actually simplify the process. People go, I don't know Solidity, I don't know these programming languages, but yet if we can provide the tool set and we can get the community to come together, and build up the next generation of blockchain developers and have these apps hosted within Search3, we kind of unify everything and bring it together, right?
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for young developers or people want to teach themselves how to program on blockchain, right? Just to get their feet wet, go to GitHub, get these libraries, and build modules and experiment, right? I think that's what it's all about. Is try, if you have an idea, build a proof of concept and maybe take it to the next level. I think blockchain is so new. There's lots of room for creativity and experimentation.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I know Adam and I work with a lot of people in the DAO on helping them understand blockchain and how to develop stuff on the blockchain. I know Robert's one of our guys that comes to us all the time, and he'll go, how do I do this? And he'll go and he'll build, like a C-based app or an old GUI app, but we go, hey, let's build like a web app for it. And I think we can provide that environment. Something that would be very cool, kind of like the concept with labs, is we're training people, right? We're bringing up the next level of developers.
Mm-hmm. Jeff, what's been your thought, sort of, I know you come out of, you taught at San Diego State.
Yes,
right?
correct.
So, why hasn't blockchain shown up more in the U.S. university system?
I think it's just such a new technology that there just hasn't been adoption yet, and I think it's really up to people like us and companies like us and HUMBL and Search3. So I was faculty at SDSU for about 4 years, and I'm a mentor in the Lavin Entrepreneur Center at SDSU. So I think it's a really good opportunity for us to come in and kind of set up shop.
Absolutely, yeah, that's cool. Okay, so as we wrap up, I think that's pretty good for episode 1. This has been a cool kind of impromptu version of Blocks Talk, but I wanted to leave you all with some blue sky stuff. Please keep in mind, some of the stuff we talk about today is really blue sky stuff. It's not happening right now on Search3. It's things that we're thinking about building for tomorrow and working on behind the scenes. So I just want to really put that rider on one more time, that this is an open forum, relaxed environment for people to talk about kind of things we're working on right now, but stuff that's also way off in the future, to think about how we build this stuff. So Junior, when we talk about that Metaverse tab on Search3, folks are clicking in and they're entering this alternate dimension where they can sit in a classroom, have a meeting that's not just squares on a computer at Zoom, but rather something where you're immersed in an environment where it seems like you're there at the stadium or the shopping mall, or situational training for armed services. Talk a little bit about the metaverse and where you see it setting up for people your age and younger that are our next decades and centuries of customers.
Absolutely. I think this is very exciting, especially being all within Search3, right? So I have my crypto tab, I have my NFT tab, and now I have this tab that's a metaverse tab, and just being able to drop right in there. I mean, imagine hearing about the metaverse, saying, what is the metaverse? Where can I find it? I mean, just like you said earlier when Elon said, where's Web3, right? Being able to just drop right into the metaverse, and imagine being able to go shopping, right? Let's say I'm at home and I want to buy a new pair of shoes or a new shirt, and I just drop right into the metaverse with Search3. I have my person in there. I'm verified against my verifiable credential with my Humble Vault, so my identity's there. So for transaction fraud, right, being able to pay in crypto and with my credit card, there's no problem. But being able to buy within the metaverse, even going to a stadium, so let's say a football game, I can just be there in the metaverse seeing this game. So I really think we're going to see some transformations in the future. As far as the government, imagine being able to do a training within the government instead of paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to bring all these different people to come train in a physical location. Directly in the metaverse, we'll be able to do training and authenticate against verifiable credentials with their identity. So training, shopping, stadium tours, traveling, all within the metaverse. So, I think it's a great key to have within Search3.
Totally. And I think, in my perspective, the metaverse, 35% of people have even heard of the metaverse, right? Probably only 5% or fewer have even entered the metaverse. It's hard to find. The content isn't fully there yet. So, in my opinion, we have, a subsidiary like Monster in LA that does creative entertainment-based content for clients like Amazon or Universal or Netflix. I think one of the things is that you contemplate with content. Just because content is monetized, it has to meet the market where the market is, where the consumer is. If you're not building movies as a content person or building streaming or building digital, then you are not meeting the market where it is and you're not feeding your family. So I think as the metaverse becomes easier to enter on products like Search3, where you click a tab and you're into it, I think it's on us to then also recruit the content that goes around that. Once you make it easy for people to enter these environments, whether it's an app store or music or video publication, all of a sudden people are doing videos all the time on social media. It's like, oh, I have a place to now build and publish content goes like that quick. And so
Absolutely.
I think one of the other things that I'm excited to see, God willing, in the next 5 or 10 years is metaverse content becoming so amazing, right? I think we get drones, we get social media, we get video. Those were things that people could monetize. And so I think as soon as content creators can monetize on the metaverse with tokenization, you're going to see these unbelievably imaginative environments in the metaverse. And so I'm really excited to see that. We're not really going to get in the content game at HUMBL on the metaverse as yet. I just don't think we're there yet. We don't have the budget for it. It's going to be crazy big. But it'll be really neat to see, and certainly Search3 will be an easy way for you to get into that. And our tool set around that, the wallet, the multi-asset wallet, the verifiable credentials will be critical toolkits for you to have on your journey in the metaverse. So that'll be a really fun part of what we build out.
Absolutely, and I think one of the first ever concerts we saw was recently in Fortnite, when Fortnite had an in-game concert experience. And obviously there was no tokenization, so there was no, hey, let me check your verifiable credential that's within your Humble Vault to verify you have a ticket to actually be at this concert, right? And I really think, obviously within that game, everyone that played that game truly loved that concert. So taking that same experience that Fortnite did, bringing it onto the blockchain, tokenizing it, saying, okay, let me check that you bought your ticket, let me check that you're of 21 if it's a 21 and older event, verifying this within the metaverse, and then actually having that same event and replicating it, I think is going to be very important.
Yeah, so I would encourage everybody at home, don't view the technology of where it is right now, right? It's a classic troll move to say, oh, well, why do I want some stupid avatar in some architectural CAD drawing like environment? It looks stupid. But I think, be confident that metaverse content, in our opinion, is going to become so rich and so immersive that you'll be able to step into this new reality of visiting the pyramids in Egypt. I'm busy. I have a DAO that I'm a contributor to. I have a public company that I'm a contributor to. I may not ever get to visit the pyramids in Egypt, but would I like to, put on a headset and go to them one day for a half an hour with a cup of strong coffee? Yes, I would. So I think, there's certain things that you're going to be able to tick off there. My grandfather drove trucks for 50 years. He started working at 15, 16, on the truck yards and driving trucks. He never went to Europe. He never went to the Middle East or Africa or, Latin America. Beyond crossing into Mexico for food in Arizona. So I just think that, it's one of these things where I do hope that the metaverse not only will get abundantly rich content, but also give people access and equity to do things like global travel, even if they can't buy a $3,000 ticket to go to the pyramids or take the time off of work. So I am hopeful as well that the metaverse provides very rich access for people, and if we can give them the tool set to enter that easily, give them the avatar and the tokenization and the wallet to give them a travel pack into the metaverse, that's a big hope of ours, and I look forward to building that out with you guys.
Yeah, and if I can chime in a little bit on that, really going back and homing in on the equity part.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine being in 5th grade and sitting in history class and the teacher saying, hey, let me actually take you to that experience. And, actually, as we talked about, Fortnite, Roblox, all these games are already doing this and bringing the younger generation into the future. And imagine just being able to learn in that experience and just take it to a whole nother level, which I think we can do on the blockchain and here at Search3. So really excited for that.
Absolutely, dudes. Love it. Great stuff, man. Welcome to the first episode of Blocks Talk. Senior, great job, and thanks for tuning in. We'll make this a fun thing and try to get it done with lots of other people at the business too. It's such a joy for me. So much of the focus is on me at HUMBL, and I don't want that. It's a strong preference of mine for you all to get to know the amazing people we have working at HUMBL, helping build out Web3. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time at Blocks Talk.